The diner looked normal from the outside. Bright daylight. Open sign glowing. Plates clinking. Coffee pouring. Inside the mood was different. 3 thugs sat in the corner booth. Loud voices. Dirty laughter. Eyes locked on the waitress. She moved table to table trying to work. Her smile was forced. Her steps were careful. Every time she passed their booth, the laughter grew louder. One snapped his fingers. Another blocked her path. A third leaned back, enjoying the fear on her face. Customers noticed. Families paused mid-bite. An old man lowered his newspaper. A couple exchanged nervous looks. No one spoke. No one moved. Silence became permission. The waitress apologized, though she had done nothing wrong. Her hands trembled as she refilled a glass. Coffee spilled. The thugs laughed harder. Watch where you are going. Maybe you should smile more. The diner felt smaller. The air felt heavy. Fear settled into every booth. Then the bell above the door rang. The sound cut through the noise. Sharp. Clear. Final. A man stepped inside. Calm. Slow. Unbothered. Steven Seagal. He wore a dark jacket. No rush. No reaction. His eyes scanned the room. He noticed everything. The frozen customers. The frightened waitress. The men who thought they owned the place. The thugs kept laughing. Unaware. Careless. Confident. Steven took one step forward. Then another. The waitress glanced toward the door. Hope flashed across her face. Then doubt. The customers felt it too. Something had shifted. The noise softened. Even the sunlight felt different. Steven stopped near the counter. He did not speak. He did not stare. But the room listened. One thug finally noticed him. He scoffed. Turned back to his friends. Big mistake. The laughter slowed. The waitress stood still. The diner waited. No one knew who he was. No one knew what would happen next. But everyone felt it. The mood had changed instantly. It was a bright daytime afternoon. The sun hung high in the sky. Light poured through the wide diner windows. Everything outside looked peaceful and ordinary. Inside the diner, the lunch rush was in full swing. Families filled the booths. Construction workers crowded the counter. Office employees checked their phones between bites. Plates moved fast. Coffee cups clinked. The sound of conversation filled the room. At first glance, it looked like a normal day. But in the corner booth, something was wrong. 3 thugs sat slouched across from each other. Boots stretched into the aisle. Arms spread wide like they owned the space. Their voices were louder than everyone else. They laughed without reason. Pointed at people. Whispered and stared. Their attention stayed locked on one person. The waitress. She was young. Wearing a simple uniform. Hair tied back neatly. Trying to move quickly and quietly. Every time she passed their table, the comments started. Not loud enough to cause a scene. Just loud enough to hurt. One snapped his fingers at her. Another knocked over his glass on purpose. Liquid spread across the table and floor. She rushed to clean it, apologizing again and again, even though it was not her fault. They laughed harder. Clumsy. Slow. Do it again. Customers nearby noticed. A mother pulled her child closer. A man at the counter shook his head. Someone whispered that they should leave. But no one stood up. The thugs noticed that too. Their confidence grew. They leaned back. Smiled wider. Spoke bolder. One blocked her path as she tried to pass. Another leaned close. Too close. The waitress froze for a moment. Then forced herself to move. Her hands trembled as she held the tray. A cup rattled against the saucer. She kept her eyes down. Focused on breathing. Focused on getting through the shift. She had bills to pay. A job she could not afford to lose. A manager who was busy in the kitchen. She hoped someone would help. But hope faded with every second. The diner stayed busy. Food kept coming. Life continued. But the tension grew thicker. The thugs spilled another drink. Laughed again. Demanded service immediately. She nodded quietly. Picked up napkins. Cleaned the mess. Her hands were shaking now. Not from clumsiness. From fear. A man in a nearby booth clenched his jaw. Then looked away. An older woman whispered a prayer. Someone pretended not to see. Silence protected the wrong people. The thugs felt untouchable. They had learned the room would not challenge them. Sunlight still poured in. Children still laughed. Cash registers still rang. But beneath it all, something ugly was spreading. The waitress stepped back behind the counter for a moment. She took a deep breath. Wiped her eyes quickly. Straightened her uniform. Then she walked back out. The thugs watched her every step. The diner felt like it was holding its breath. Backhand index pointing right. Comment below if you have ever seen someone treated like this. The laughter from the corner booth grew louder. Not playful. Not careless. Sharp and deliberate. The thugs no longer tried to hide it. They leaned forward. Voices rising. Calling the waitress back again and again. Even when she was busy. When she tried to pass their table. One of them stretched his leg into the aisle. Blocking her path. She stopped suddenly. Almost losing her balance. Where do you think you are going? Another laughed. Service is slow today. She whispered an apology. Tried to step around them. That was when it happened. One of the thugs reached out. Grabbed her wrist. Not hard enough to leave a mark. Just hard enough to scare her. The tray slipped from her other hand. Plates shattered on the floor. The sound echoed through the diner. Everything froze. Her face went pale. She tried to pull back. Her voice caught in her throat. Please let go. The thug smirked. Enjoying the moment. Enjoying the power. Customers saw it clearly now. A man at the counter stiffened. A woman covered her mouth. A child stared wide-eyed. But still no one moved. Fear filled the room. Heavy and suffocating. People looked down at their plates. Pretended to check phones. Turned their heads away. The silence told the thugs everything. They laughed louder. One of them said something cruel. Something that made the waitress flinch. She finally yanked her arm free. Stepped back. Her breathing uneven. The floor was a mess. Broken dishes. Spilled food. Shaking hands. The manager was still nowhere in sight. The thugs leaned back again. Satisfied. Confident. They had crossed a line. And nothing had happened. That was when the bell on the diner door rang. The sound cut through the tension. Clear and sharp. Heads turned. A man stepped inside. He moved slowly. Calmly. As if the chaos meant nothing to him. Black jacket. Simple clothes. No expression. He paused just inside the doorway. Letting the door close behind him. Steven Seagal. He did not rush. Did not speak. Did not react. His presence was quiet. But undeniable. He looked around the diner. Noticing the broken plates. The frozen customers. The waitress gripping her wrist. His eyes moved to the corner booth. The thugs barely glanced at him. Too busy laughing. Too sure of themselves. Steven took a few steps forward. Boots soft against the floor. The room seemed to slow. A man at the counter felt his shoulders relax. The waitress felt something she had not felt all afternoon. Relief. Steven stopped near the counter. Set his hands lightly on the surface. He said nothing. The thugs kept talking. Mocking. Boasting. One finally looked up. Smirked. Got a problem, old man? Steven did not answer. He just watched. The air in the diner shifted. The fear that once protected the thugs now hung around them instead. No one knew what would happen next. But everyone knew. This was no longer just a diner problem. Steven sat near the counter. Back straight. Hands relaxed. Eyes forward. He did not touch his drink. He did not check his phone. He simply watched. Every movement. Every laugh. Every second of disrespect. The waitress stayed behind the counter, holding her wrist, trying to steady her breathing. Her eyes avoided the corner booth. The thugs noticed Steven now. They whispered, snickered, judged him quickly. Old, quiet, alone. One of them laughed out loud. A sharp, ugly sound. Mind your business, old man. The words echoed across the diner. A few customers flinched. Someone whispered his name. But most stayed silent. Steven did not react. Not immediately. He took a slow breath, placed his cup down carefully, then pushed his chair back. The sound of the chair scraping the floor felt loud. Too loud. Steven slowly stood up. No rush. No anger. No threat. Just control. He turned toward the corner booth. His posture calm. His face unreadable. The thugs kept smiling. Still confident. Still unaware. Steven spoke. His voice was low. Steady. Clear. Let her do her job. No shouting. No insults. No emotion. Just words. The diner went silent. No plates moved. No drinks poured. No one spoke. Even the thugs stopped laughing. The waitress looked up. Her eyes wide. Her heart racing. One thug scoffed. Tried to laugh it off. But the sound died halfway. Another shifted in his seat. Suddenly uncomfortable. Steven took one step forward. Not aggressive. Not rushed. But intentional. The air felt heavier. Thicker. Customers leaned back in their booths. Some held their breath. Steven continued to stand there, waiting. The silence stretched. One thug tried to break it. You some kind of hero. Steven did not answer. He did not need to. His presence filled the room. Like a wall. Like a warning. The waitress felt her knees weaken. But not from fear this time. From relief. Someone had finally spoken. The thugs exchanged glances. Their confidence cracking. Just slightly. Steven took another step. Still calm. Still controlled. His eyes never left them. The message was clear. Without being spoken. This ends now. The diner remained silent. As if everyone understood at once. Whatever happened next would change everything. The silence did not last. One of the thugs stood up. Anger on his face. Ego wounded in front of the room. He stepped closer to Steven. Chest out. Smile gone. You think you scare us? Before anyone could react. He shoved Steven hard. It was a big mistake. Steven did not stumble. He did not shout. He did not even change his expression. In seconds he moved. Fast. Precise. Controlled. No wild punches. No dramatic moves. Just skill. Steven stepped inside the thug space. Redirected the force. Used the man's own momentum against him. The thug lost balance. Hit the floor hard. Before the others could stand. Steven was already there. One arm locked. A leg swept. A quiet impact. The second thug fell. Gasps filled the diner. The third rushed forward. Angry and reckless. Steven stayed calm. One turn. One controlled motion. The third thug crashed into a table. Then the floor. Everything happened in seconds. No shouting. No chaos. Just control. Plates rattled. Chairs scraped. Someone screamed. Customers jumped to their feet. Hands over mouths. Eyes wide. The waitress froze. Unable to believe what she was seeing. 3 men who ruled the room moments ago now lay on the floor. Groaning. Helpless. Steven stepped back. Breathing steady. Hands relaxed. The diner was silent again. But this silence was different. It was shock. Respect. Relief. A man near the counter whispered, "My God." Another customer slowly clapped. Then stopped. Unsure if it was allowed. Steven looked at the thugs. His voice calm. Firm. This ends now. No threats. No insults. Just truth. The thugs did not answer. They could not. Fear replaced arrogance. Someone called the police. Phones came out. Hands trembled. The waitress leaned against the counter. Tears forming. Not from fear. From release. Steven turned slightly, checking the room. Everyone was watching him now. Not as a stranger. Not as an old man. But as authority. He had not raised his voice. He had not lost control. He had shown restraint. The sound of sirens approached in the distance. The thugs stayed down. No one helped them. No one defended them. The room had chosen a side. Steven stepped back toward his seat, as if nothing unusual had happened. He picked up his jacket, straightened it calmly. The diner slowly exhaled. Backhand index pointing right, fire or respect. What should happen next? Comment now. The sound of sirens grew louder, then stopped outside the diner. Police officers rushed in, hands on radios, eyes scanning the room. They saw the broken table, the shaken customers, the three thugs on the floor. No one defended them. No one spoke for them. The truth was clear. The officers cuffed the thugs, one by one, lifting them to their feet. The arrogance was gone, replaced by fear and silence. As they were led outside, customers watched, not with pity, but with relief. The door closed behind them, and for the first time all afternoon, the diner felt safe. The waitress finally broke down. Her knees gave way. She covered her face. Tears fell freely, not from weakness, from release. All the fear, all the humiliation, gone. Steven turned toward her, his movements slow, respectful, non-threatening. He reached into his pocket, pulled out cash, and placed it gently on the counter. More than the bill, much more. The waitress looked up, eyes red, voice shaking. "Sir, I cannot take this." Steven met her eyes, his voice calm, quiet, certain. "You deserve respect. No lecture, no speech, just truth." The words hit harder than anything else. The waitress nodded, hands trembling, a small smile breaking through the tears. Other customers watched silently. Some nodded, some wiped their eyes. Some felt ashamed they had not spoken sooner. Steven picked up his jacket, adjusted it slowly. He did not wait for praise. He did not look for thanks. He turned toward the door. The bell rang as he stepped outside. Sunlight filled the doorway. Steven walked out quietly, blending back into the day. Inside the diner, people began to talk again. Soft at first, then louder. But something had changed. The waitress stood taller, her fear gone, her dignity returned. The customers knew they had witnessed something rare. Not violence, not anger, but control, courage, respect. And the lesson stayed behind, long after Steven Seagal was gone. What happened in that diner was not about fighting. It was about values. Real strength protects the weak. It does not look for attention. It does not shout. It does not need permission. Steven did not walk in looking for trouble. He did not announce himself. He did not threaten anyone. He watched. He understood. He acted only when it mattered. Not everyone who is calm is harmless. Some people carry discipline. Some people carry principle. Some people carry a line they will not allow others to cross. The thugs believed noise meant power. They believed fear meant control. They believed silence meant weakness. They were wrong. True power is quiet. It waits. It chooses the right moment. Respect costs nothing. No money. No status. No strength. Anyone can give it. But disrespect can cost everything. Your dignity. Your freedom. Your future. The waitress did nothing to deserve what happened to her. Yet she carried the weight of someone else's cruelty. And many people saw it. But fear kept them seated. Silence kept them safe. At least they thought so. Until one person chose differently. That choice changed the room. It changed the outcome. It changed a life. You do not need to be famous. You do not need to be strong. You do not need to be fearless. You just need to care. The world does not change through loud heroes. It changes through quiet courage. Through people who step in. Not for applause. Not for praise. But because it is right. If you ever feel small, remember this. Kindness is not weakness. Calm is not surrender. Silence is not consent. One act of courage can stop 1,000 acts of cruelty. And one moment of respect can restore someone's dignity. That is real power. That is real strength. Backhand index pointing right, type respect if you believe kindness is real power. Backhand index pointing right, tell me where you are watching from.